Hey, how's it going? It's Keith Townsend from the CTOadvisor.com. We're at Rubric Inc. in the Archer conference room, and I have with me someone who, you know what, kind of broke my heart. She went over to the dark side. She's eating all of the delicious cookies that Chris Wall has told us are on the dark side of the force of the IT enterprise space. Rebecca Fitzhugh. Rebecca, how's it going?
Not bad at all.
So, Rebecca, I wanted to talk to you because you've made this transition. You actually have a pretty robust background from military to enterprise to VAR to now on the vendor side of the house. Let's talk about this career progression. What are some of the big lessons learned now that you're at a vendor?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest lesson is that I really love paychecks getting deposited regularly. Because before joining Rubric, I was a freelancer, so I did freelancing for about 6 years. So I definitely the hustle's real on the freelancing side, as you well know.
I can relate.
I mean, beyond that, I think it helps solidify. I think a lot of the things I thought I knew, I think it proved that I do know them, and some, and then some examples I didn't know at all. And so I learned a lot about how the sausage is made.
So let's talk about that a little bit. One of the fears that we have, especially as influencers, that if we go work for a vendor, our independence is shot, and that for a lot of us, I know it's for you too. The independence and the ability to kind of take pots at the industry and comment on the overall industry is important to us. What was it, other than the paycheck, that drew you to Rubric, and what's your impressions of it, kind of independence now?
Yeah, I don't really feel constricted. I mean, I will say that even before joining Rubric, I always tended to think twice, right? So before I sent that tweet or before I posted that blog post, I'd always be like, do I want to do this, and what is the impact? So that really hasn't changed at all. And I was very specific and very picky when I was looking at companies and really considering moving to the vendor side, as I wanted that same autonomy that I already had as a freelancer. And I'm very lucky to be on a team that's supportive of me, continuing to give back to the community and continuing to do the things that I was doing before joining, as well as, of course, doing my day job on top of that.
So recommendations for those considering taking a vendor role, anything that you want to highlight about, whether it's the search process, the selection process, the interview process. What are some of the major lessons as people look at potentially working for an IT vendor?
I think kind of overall, the hiring is slower. At least that's been my experience. Looking at vendors versus looking at like VARs and different consulting firms, is I tended to get offers a lot quicker from non-vendor companies. And then the vendor process is you get vetted pretty hard, and you speak to a lot of different people across the organization beyond just your team. So it does tend to slow the process down a little bit, but overall it's been a great transition. I think as long as you are pretty transparent in the interview process of wanting, for example, that autonomy to continue blogging or continue, to act as an analyst in some regard, then you'll be pretty okay.
So if people want to find out about Rubric and where they're hiring, what they're doing with Polaris, etc., more about kind of what you do, how can they do that?
Yeah, I mean, the Rubric website. So if you go to rubric.com, you can go to the blog in the top right-hand corner. There's a link. And then if you want careers, it's under the company information. We're definitely hiring.
And do you still blog?
I do. I blog on the great thing is actually I've had more opportunities open up to me, and which was the surprising effect, because I thought more opportunities would close to me being on the vendor side. But I have had the opportunity to contribute to some well-known blogs, as well as my own blog, and then the Rubric blog.
And your blog is?
Technicloud.com.
All right. And of course, you can find me on the web, ctodose.com for these videos, and the ctoadvisor.com for the blog. Until then, talk to you next, CTO Dose.